Well, welcome back. You're between the York Revolution, WOYK, WellSpan Health. Daryl Henry with you from inside our studios here at the ballpark, and Dr. Michael Diller joining us for another episode in our mental health series, which is hugely important all of the time, but maybe especially important here in 2020. Michael Diller, licensed psychologist, also director of the Employee Assistance Program at WellSpan. So Dr. Diller, Mike, welcome back. Great to be with you. And I guess there might be a few more pieces on the YouTube side, but as far as the radio broadcast of this series, this essentially is episode 2, and we get a chance to dive into some further topics, further discussion here. There's so many areas that go along with mental health. So we'll be at this for several weeks, which I'm excited about. But great to have you back on, and looking forward to this again.
No, it's great to be here, Darryl. I appreciate the chance to continue the conversation. I thought we had a great conversation the first time around, and it's just great to be here with you and the audience and listeners here today. Look forward to it.
Absolutely. And I think on this segment, the first time we got into recognizing the problem and what you might be able to do about that, first steps that you can take towards seeking help. I kind of gave my history of going through those instances, and that seems like the natural place to start for somebody, to help somebody when having these discussions. This time we'll get into a little bit more of dealing with 2020 and change and how we can best deal with that. But you and I were before we do that, you and I were talking about a couple aspects of our last discussion. There's just a few things I want to point out to kind of tie that together. And I think last time we made the comparison that, if your leg got hurt or if your heart was sick, you would do something about it. And I think it should be the same with your brain. Like, if you're dealing with anxiety and depression, I think I made the analogy that your brain is under the weather. And that's okay. Like, that's not anything to be ashamed of. It's just the same as if you pulled a hamstring, you would go get help for it. And that's what we want. That's what we want to encourage people to do. And, a lot of folks are suffering in silence, silently fighting, don't know how to bring it up, don't feel that they can bring it up. One of the best things I think I can provide and share, I guess, is that to anybody going through it, watching this or listening, like, I know how you feel. It's torture. It's silent internal torture, and you try to act like everything around you is fine, but it feels like your world's falling apart or the world's going 1,000 miles an hour around you. So you're not alone. I get it. I know what you're going through. And like, I know I'm hosting this with you, Mike, but by no means do I have it figured out. I'm working on it every day. It's an ongoing fight for me. I mentioned last time kind of my formula, my game plan. It's therapy with Katie at WellSpan every couple of weeks, and also some daily medication. And without that stuff, I don't think I'd be functioning. That's what works for me. But just to kind of tie the last episode together and bring us to what we're talking about today, those were just a couple of things that I wanted to touch on. Number one, I get it. I know what you're going through if you're going through it. It's nothing to be ashamed of. This program is here to maybe give you some encouragement on what you can do, how you can do it, how to get some help. And again, I just wanted to remind people that I know I'm hosting this with you, but by no means do I have it figured out. I suspect and expect that it's something that I'm going to fight and battle and manage for the rest of my life. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I think those are just, I think, real important messages, Darryl, that you've kind of shared as kind of that, almost kind of a bridge from where we were last time into today's conversation. And, I shared this with you a couple times already. I just really appreciate your courage and willingness to be able to share your story and be able to let people know that, sometimes life happens in ways that we didn't foresee, but there are things that we can do about it so that we just don't continue to struggle kind of like on our own, like on an island. Sometimes we feel like we might just be on an island or it's just me, and have these questions about why can't I seem to get kind of a grip on things and just get through this? Why can't this just go away? And, you shared a very personal story last time about just, hey, this is something that I was able to kind of feel with you, feel, but then also deal with and be able to reach out for support, and you had people around you to kind of lean on. And I think that is a big message here that I think that we're trying to also share with our audience here, with people who are joining us today, that we don't want them to feel that they're alone, that, there is help by reaching out, and there is strength in doing so. And we get stronger by being able to do that. And really the truth of it is, that help is a two-way street. So when someone helps someone else, they actually benefit from it as well. Not just, because they've helped somebody, but there's actually just, there's research to support that there's just benefits when you help someone emotionally and also physiologically and also inside the body, that it's helpful for the person helping, and then also for the person receiving. It's a two-way street to build resilience, to be able to say, how can we both get stronger here? Now, obviously the person who may be struggling isn't necessarily thinking that, nor is the person actually giving the help. Often it's just, it's just someone trying to help out someone else. But if we never say anything, then the other folks never really necessarily know that there might be an issue. And sometimes when someone's not saying something, someone may notice that Mike's not quite himself today and just a little bit out of sorts and just kind of on his game. What's going on with Mike? So sometimes that's a difficult kind of crossroad, a point, an opportunity. Do we say anything to Mike, or do we just say, you know what, that's just Mike having a moment. We'll just let him go, give him space. But really, our conversation last time and today, and as we move forward, is that sometimes that is an opportunity to say, hey, Mike, just notice that you're all right today. How are you doing today? And that's an invitation to say, maybe I'm not 100%. Maybe I'm not my best self today. And if we start to do more of that, that shows that human empathy and compassion to say, hey, we're in this together. I'm just looking out for you, just like you've looked out for me. And so it's a chance to lean on one another and lift each other up. And, our conversation, I look forward to continuing these because we get a chance to keep doing this together. And that whole part about the physical part, like you said, the brain, I love that. The brain's got a little under the weather today. So what are we going to do about that? If you do nothing, can it kind of heal on its own? I think the research will show, if you do nothing over time, you can perhaps you will lift out of a depression, but it's a longer haul. It's full of many more challenges. And it doesn't have to be that way. So just when my left knee is aching and hurting because I tweaked it playing ice hockey, I need to go get that checked out. If the brain is under the weather, that may be an opportunity to get that checked out and get that support also. So, yeah.
Been there. Because like I shared last time, the first, then maybe second time that I had been through it, I didn't know what it was. So I just sort of let it ride its course, and it's not pleasant, and it can be months and months and maybe even over a year, but in my case, but I think like sometimes people that are struggling, they want to be asked, are you okay? Because they don't know how to reach out and tell somebody that they are not okay. So they would love to be asked. And if you're a friend and you ask them, they may not give it up so easily. They may still, not be willing to open up. Like you might ask them, you might ask the right questions, and the person struggling may still not know how to answer, even though you kind of reached out and made that first approach. So, I think this series could not only help people that are struggling, but I know you're going to unveil an unbelievable stat regarding 2020 here in a moment, but I think the benefit of this series could be for everybody, because we've all got friends that are struggling, whether we know that or not. And some of these discussions can help us understand how to potentially help them. And you mentioned that, you know, the idea of helping someone else, what that does for you. Some of my closest friends that I've made, some of my closest friendships have been built on anxiety and depression because I have identified people that, you know, maybe are going through some of the things that I am, and we've become very close in helping each other. And I love to offer that to other people myself, you know, even when it's something that maybe I don't have 100% handle on. And so I like that line with a few of my friends that our friendship is built on that, but that's okay. Like, you know, and hopefully this series can help kind of both, you know, both sides of the coin, if you will.
No, I think it's, you know, it's certainly worth highlighting that again, just like you had mentioned, that sometimes it is difficult when we notice someone struggling and they might not be themselves. When I said, hey, you know, Mike doesn't look like himself today. He's just a little bit out of sorts and just not sure what's up with Mike, what's going on with him. It's difficult sometimes to ask that question. And I think you're absolutely right. There are times, and you can speak to this, you've spoken to this, that there are many times people that may be just having a difficult time kind of from the inside saying, yeah, please ask me. It'd be great, you know, reach out to me. But then on the other side, sometimes people are like, I would like to say something, not quite sure what to say. I do care about this person. These are all the thoughts that we have. These are all the kind of the self-talk that goes on. But sometimes it leads us to not do anything because we don't want to create, I don't want to upset Mike any further. So I just won't say anything. I'll just give him space because that's probably what he needs. But we really don't know sometimes unless we ask or at least check in. And then to your point also, sometimes when people do have that kind of, they take that step and ask, and then so if they ask me and I say, oh, I'm good, I'm fine, thanks for asking. And we keep moving on, but I may not be fine. We talked about that kind of what's behind the mask and, you know, what's behind that kind of facade, you know, really what's going on inside. And so I would say though, that it's worth the risk of asking. And I say this because I know when someone has asked me if I've been in a difficult moment, what that's meant to me, how that's made me feel. Even if I've responded to them saying, I'm good, appreciate you asking, even though I may not be 100% good, but what that person did for me in that moment is they took a moment to genuinely ask because they cared about me. How am I? What, you know, are you okay? And I remember that, how that made me feel. And so I may not take them up on it at the moment, but I do know that they're available for me down the road should I need it. And that's how I would also flip that around. So if I'm the person asking the question to Mike and I get that response, I'm good, I'm fine, thanks for asking. I would say that's fantastic that you took that step, but also make sure you kind of stick around, that there might be another opportunity for another connection to check in with that person. So it may not be in that moment. You know, sometimes this happens with parents and their kids. You know, parents will say, hey, Johnny, or hey, you know, hey, Sue, you know, what's going on with you today? You're just not, you don't seem yourself. I'm fine. Nothing's wrong. But just the fact that you've checked in with them means all the world to them, even though it may not feel that way at the moment because they weren't really receptive to you checking in. They'll remember that though. They'll remember that you checked in. They'll remember that how it made them feel. And they'll know that they can lean on you down the road. So that opportunity, when someone says, I'm good, I'm fine, you could follow up and say, hey, you know what? I'm glad that you are, but, you know, just wanted to check in with you if, you know, but just know that I'm there for you. And so if you need something, you just let me know. And then that's an opportunity to let them know that, hey, I'm there for you. I'm going to be there down the road. People will remember that. It's almost kind of like that safety button that, you know, if you press this button, everything will be made easier. So sometimes if people know this, and this has been supported by research as well. So if someone knows that they can do that and that button is there, they don't always hit the button. But just the fact that they know that that relief kind of button is right there, and that relief button could be us. It could be me. It could be you. That in and of itself brings the anxiety and stress levels down because they know that they have someone that's kind of in the wings that has their back. So that can happen every day, whether you're just in any kind of walk of life, that can happen. And that's kind of being able to lean on one another and support each other.
Yeah, yeah. The person receiving that will never forget it. And if you don't get, that openness right away, don't give up on them.
Yes.
Be there. A typical answer I might have given would be, I'm just tired, or yeah, just a lot going on with work. Yeah, it's fine. That kind of stuff. Uh, but it's not like there's more to it than that, and that person just has to get to the point where they can kind of get over that hurdle and be willing to talk about it.
No, I think it's absolutely right. It's, you don't want to kind of, I think to do nothing, we miss an opportunity. But I get it. Sometimes people will, say, I didn't want to stress them out anymore. So I just wanted to give them some space. It's not that they don't care. It's not that they don't care at all. They may care deeply, but they're just not quite sure what to do or how to do it. But I think encouraging people to take that chance to reach out to them. And I think you're absolutely right. People will never forget that. People don't forget how that made them feel. They may not remember exactly what the words were that you said, or the behavior that maybe that you actually did, but they will remember how that made them feel, that you took a moment to do that. And sometimes it's that smallest gesture of kindness and caring and, and have got your back that makes all the difference in the world. Because many times people that are struggling with anxiety or depression or those kinds of stresses feel that I'm just alone, or I don't have anyone to kind of lean on. And often we find that, sometimes those smallest gestures of just connecting with someone really sends a clear message that you're not on an island, that you're not alone, that there are people that do care, in fact.